Hey everyone, and welcome. So, just for a second, think about your body. It's this amazing, super smart machine, right? It almost always knows exactly what to do. But what happens when the messages, the signals inside that machine get a little mixed up? Today, we're going to dive into exactly that. Let's find out together. So, this is the big question for today. When these super important signals inside us get crossed or even blocked completely, it can cause some really big problems. And understanding why that happens is the first step to knowing how we can actually help someone. We're going to take a look at 4 really important health conditions where these signals get confused. We'll be exploring what's happening in the brain, in the lungs, and even in our digestive system. So, let's get started. First up, we're talking about a stroke. You might hear people call it a brain attack, and honestly, that's a really good way to think about it, because it's sudden and it happens right inside the control center of your body, the brain. So, what is a stroke exactly? Well, it's when blood, which is carrying oxygen that your brain desperately needs, suddenly stops flowing to a part of the brain. It's kind of like how we need air to breathe, right? Your brain cells need oxygen from blood to live, and without it, they start to die, and they die really fast. Now, a stroke can happen in 2 main ways. The most common kind is called an ischemic stroke. You can think of this like a major traffic jam in your brain, where a blood clot totally blocks the road. The other kind is a hemorrhagic stroke, and that's more like a pipe bursting. A blood vessel actually breaks open and bleeds. Both are incredibly serious.
With a stroke, every single second counts. So the most important thing here is to know the warning signs and to act, well, fast. And that word itself is actually the key to remembering exactly what to do.
So here's how you check, using that word, FAST. F is for face. Ask the person to smile. Do you see one side of their face droop down? A is for arms. Ask them to raise both arms up. Does one arm start to drift down on its own? S is for speech. Is their talking all slurred or strange? And the most important letter, T, is for time. If you see any of these signs, it is time to call for emergency help immediately. And this is so important to remember. Getting that person medical help right away can literally be the difference between a full recovery and permanent damage to their brain. Acting fast really can save a life. Okay, let's switch gears. We're going to move from the brain down to the lungs and talk about asthma. This is a condition that can make something we do without thinking, breathing, suddenly become very hard. You see, when someone has asthma, the tubes that carry air into their lungs, we call them airways, get really irritated. They swell up, they get a lot narrower, and sometimes they can even fill up with this sticky stuff called mucus. Imagine trying to breathe through a really tiny drinking straw that's also clogged up. That's kind of what it can feel like. So, what makes asthma symptoms certainly get worse? Well, these are called triggers, and it can be all sorts of things, like running around during exercise, or being around things you're allergic to, like pollen or pets, or even just getting a simple cold. Sometimes even a big change in the weather can cause what's known as a flare-up. The good news is, asthma is something that can be managed. People learn what their triggers are and try to avoid them. And they have special medicine, usually in something called an inhaler, that helps relax and open up those tight airways so they can get back to breathing easier. All right, let's move to a whole different system in the body, the digestive system. We're going to talk about something called celiac disease. And believe it or not, it all boils down to one tiny little protein. And that protein is called gluten. It's found in grains like wheat, which means it's in a ton of foods we eat all the time. Things like bread, pasta, cereal, you name it. Now, for most people, gluten is totally harmless. But for someone with celiac disease, it's a huge problem. So here's where the signals get totally crossed. Your immune system is kind of like your body's personal security team. It's supposed to protect you from germs and invaders. But with celiac disease, that security team makes a big mistake. It sees gluten, and it thinks it's a dangerous enemy. So it launches an attack on the person's own small intestine. So let's look at what that attack actually does. Inside a healthy intestine, you've got these tiny finger-like things called villi. Their job is to grab all the good stuff, the nutrients from your food. But when the immune system attacks, those little fingers get flattened and damaged, like you see on the right. And when that happens, they just can't grab onto the nutrients your body needs to stay strong and healthy. And here's the thing.
unlike other conditions, there's no pill or medicine you can take for celiac disease. The only way to stop the attack and let the body heal is to completely stop eating gluten. It means being on a very strict gluten-free diet for your whole life.
All right, for our last condition, we're heading back up to the brain. But this time, we're looking at what happens when the brain's electrical signals go haywire. We're going to talk about epilepsy, which you can almost think of as a sudden electrical storm inside the brain. See, your brain is constantly sending out these tiny, perfectly controlled electrical signals to tell your body what to do. Move your arm, blink your eyes, everything. But with epilepsy, those normal, organized signals get interrupted by a sudden, uncontrolled burst of activity. That electrical storm is what we call a seizure.
And seizures can look really different depending on the person. It's not always what you might see in a movie with someone shaking on the ground. A seizure could make a person's body go all stiff, or it could be something really quiet, like someone just staring into space for a few seconds, totally unaware of anything happening around them.
And just like with asthma, for some people with epilepsy, certain things can trigger a seizure. And these can be pretty common things, like not getting enough sleep, seeing really bright flashing lights, or even playing video games for a really long time can sometimes be enough to start that electrical storm. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground, from the brain to the lungs to the digestive system and back to the brain again. So let's bring it all together, because knowing what's happening is one thing, but knowing how to help is everything. Okay, so this chart makes it super simple. For a stroke, you look for those F.A.S.T signs, the droopy face, the weak arm, the strange speech. And you call 911, no hesitation. For asthma, if someone's having a hard time breathing, you help them find and use their inhaler. For celiac disease, you can be a huge help just by helping them find food that's safe for them to eat. And for epilepsy, if someone has a seizure, the most important thing is to just stay calm, make sure they're safe from hurting themselves, and time how long it lasts. So we're going to end with this thought. You now have this knowledge. You can spot the signs, you understand the basics, and you get what's happening inside someone's body. So how can you use this new knowledge to be a helper to your friends, your family, or maybe even a stranger? How can you show you care and maybe, just maybe, make a huge difference in someone's day? Just think about it. Thanks for tuning in.